What are rubrics? Rubrics have become popular with teachers as a means to communicate their expectations for an assignment, a discussion, or any kind of course activity. They provide focused feedback on works in progress and also grading final projects. Although teachers tend to define the word rubric in many different ways, one of the commonly accepted definitions is a document that articulates the expectations for an assignment by listing the criteria or what the teacher thinks is important and describing levels of quality from excellent to below standard. Rubrics are often used to grade student work, but they can serve other purposes as well. Rubrics teach as well as evaluate. When they're used as part of a formative, student-centered assessment, rubrics have the potential to help students develop understanding and skill, as well as make dependable judgments about the quality of their own work and other students' work. Students should be able to use a rubric in many of the same ways that teachers use them, to clarify the standards for what is a quality project, and also to guide ongoing feedback about the progress towards those standards. Other definitions for rubrics include rubrics are scoring guidelines that use specific written criteria to distinguish among levels of student proficiency on a common task. They specify the essential elements of a process or product and allow for assessment of the depth of knowledge or degree of proficiency for a particular student on a specific skill or task. This definition comes from Rickards and Cheek, two of the notable experts on assessments and rubrics. So what are some of the benefits of using a rubric? One is consistency. Faculty are able to write clear statements of their expectations for students. This increases the intra and inter rater reliability, meaning that a teacher will be more consistent when grading several students. And if you have many graders, this increases the reliability between many graders. Rubrics also let teachers communicate exactly what they want students to know and to do. Rubrics also let students self-assess their work, and it gives them guidance along the way how it can be improved. Rubrics allow for backwards planning. Teachers decide what standards and objectives they want students to know or to be able to do at the end of a project. This is important as it allows the teacher to focus specifically on what they want the students to know when teaching a lesson. An important part of rubrics are deciding what criteria, the qualities of the skill, the knowledge, or the project, or the attitudes being assessed that are important. What are the steps for deciding on the criteria when you go about to assess students' work? The first thing to consider are the differences that make things stand out. What is outstanding? What is acceptable that meets the standards? And what is unacceptable? It's best to have examples of these projects to help you to decide these things. You may want to consider these areas that make a difference in quality. Considering conceptual understanding. How well does the project show the use of big ideas and the understanding of these big ideas? Content knowledge. How does the project demonstrate the facts students know, the illustrations, descriptions, or examples that show that students have internalized what they are studying? The thinking process. What critical or creative thinking are demonstrated in the project? Communication skills. How well does the project communicate the intended message for the audience? Does it demonstrate specific organization, grammar, style, or usage, or vocabulary that you would like students to use? Here are some examples how you can label these different areas. In the above quality level, you can use words like exemplary, above and beyond, outstanding, expert, expanding, or exceeds the standard. Acceptable levels might be named satisfactory, appropriate, meets the standard, or the expected performance. Projects not meeting the quality performance may be called inadequate, developing, beginning, not acceptable, needs improvement, or does not meet standard. Before choosing these labels, think about your age group, your students, and their response to these labels. A typical rubric lists the quality levels along the top row and the specific criteria which to investigate the project along the left side. I would suggest starting writing your rubric by starting at the acceptable middle level. Describe what you consider would adequately meet your standards and objectives. Then move to above the acceptable quality level. You can use words like breadth, depth, creativity, the substance, the insight, the complexity, the elaboration, the sensitivity, or the applicability to more particular situations as ways to distinguish an above acceptable level. Then I'd suggest writing what is not acceptable, what is below the acceptable quality. You can use words like inaccuracy, incomplete, level of understanding demonstrated, inappropriateness, the simplicity, the feasibility, the superficiality, or the lack of applicability. Here's an example of a rubric with the descriptors filled out. Notice the quality standards across the top and the criteria, what the teacher is looking for, along the left side. The boxes in between give students a deeper understanding of what is expected. When writing your quality descriptors, do write in behavioral terms, things that we can see and observe that are measurable. Try not to make references to things that we can't see. We can't see the amount of time that a student spends on a project or the amount of care or thought that a student may give to a project. Stay away from these descriptors. Focus on the quality and the quality differences. Stay away from quantity, counting the number of spelling errors or the number of statements. Choose to use precise adjectives and adverbs, such as complete, correct, over half, accurate. Try to stay away from words that are vague and may mean very different things to different students. For instance, students' idea of what is good may vacillate very differently from what you think is good. When you have completed your rubric, take a sample project and try to fill it in. Many rubrics get better over time. The more you assess with the rubric, the more you modify it to meet your needs, the better the rubric will become. When you're refining your rubric, think about where you had difficulties in scoring. You may want to remove or change criteria that didn't really distinguish one area from another one. You may want to add additional criteria to address areas that you felt may not have been covered. Remember that rubrics are used to communicate our expectations as teachers to the students while they're working on a project. This means that the student needs the rubric ahead of time while they're working on a project, not just at the end. Rubrics are shown to improve the quality of students' work. It also helps us as teachers fairly assess students' work and give them quality feedback on what the student did well and what they could improve upon.